Okay, it's running. This is video 2 for criminal justice, intro to criminal justice. So this week you had us compare and contrast chapter 5, 8, and 9, as well as CJ History of Policing, along with watching 2 films, Through the Blue Lens, and there's another one. What was it? Through the Blue Lens and Policing the Police, and then reading chapter 6 and 7 and describing why we understand the role of police and system of policing with the standpoint of various racial and gender perspectives is crucial as, yeah, I'll get to that when I get to the answer of that one. So for question 1, which is compare and contrast 5, 8, and 9, as well as CJ History of Policing, how does policing in a free society relate to the social organization of arrest? What similarities do you see and what role the public play in the perspective of police? Additionally, what role do the police play in reducing crime? And I answered, this is my answer. Um, they all talk about laws, about legal rights, and how they came to be in some way, like history. They all talked a little bit about history. And that's how like they compared, I guess. And they contrasted in the different types of laws that they talked about. But you had us read a lot, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I kind of just skimmed through those chapters because I just couldn't focus on them for whatever reason. I've been trying to read those chapters for days and my brain just wouldn't let me focus. Um, but I did do some individual research about the questions for this problem. The rest I was able to do easy peasy. Um, because I think the wording is what threw me off, truth be told. So I wrote in both public and police play, trust is the absolute key to it all because both parties have to have trust in one another. The public has to trust the police in order for them to give information, and the police have to trust the public for giving them reliable information. The public is needed for information and for hopefully putting the right people in powerful positions, while police deter crime, advocate against crime, and arrest criminals with the information given by the public. Which kind of reminds me of my ethics teacher's scenario where she asked people what they'd do if they had a ring of invisibility. All all talked about doing something not kind involving another group of people, like scaring other people or robbing banks. I said getting into concerts for free because that was the least negative interference with other people's lives while still doing something I couldn't do without the ring. However, the reason why I brought this up is due to information in the sense of an invisible law breaking force and due to the lack of information. Because if the person is invisible, what would the people report? They have no description of the person. They only have the description of the crime. But if there's no person, what would be the evidence? Even if people reported it, would the cops take it seriously due to the fact that there's a lot of lacking evidence or information? Anyway, for 2, this is the one I focused mostly on because I actually really liked doing this one, mostly because watching the videos were easier to do than the reading this time around. I've just been busy, and I'd rather watch something happening in the background. Even if I'm like not fully watching it, I can at least listen to it. Uh, so compare and contrast the 2 films, Through the Blue Lens and Policing the Police, along with CJ History of Policing. What were the main points of the films? What were How were police described and shown in these films? Do they contrast, or is there a better way to describe the differences in these films? My answer for this is that I'm glad that you had us watch through the blue lens. I guess my typing auto corrected that. Um, I was kind of rooting for Nicola to come clean. She was funny. I liked her as a person. Um, Hopefully she is clean now, but you never know. It was filmed, I think, in the 90s by the looks of it. Um, but yeah, I was a little sad that she didn't come clean. She looked so close to being so. And I'm glad that Randy was clean by the end of it, by multiple months. It's kind of crazy to think that he was the one that came clean finally, because they finally got in contact with his family members that he thought didn't care for him anymore. Um, and CJ history, yeah, mostly discuss the history of American and British policing, like the differences about them and how they became to be. Well, the videos focused and discussed more so of the now or the time frame the videos were made. All of them talked about American policing. Blue Lens talked about the stories of addicts and that it can happen to anyone, and it had a more sympathetic view, while Policing the Police covered more controversial topics that needed to be addressed. Policing the Police started talking about history like CJ, history of a police brutality, which has been a problem since the start of policing. The two films contrast quite a bit as you get personal with the addicts in Blue Lens, and in Policing the Police, you learn more about the police and the police trying to defend themselves for bad policing, and you don't get to know the criminals. And from what I remember in Policing the Police, I remember how at one point the the first cops you kind of meet, both get charged with abusing their power in some way. Um, One got charged because I think he injured someone really badly, and then the other one got charged because he used his power and sexually assaulted a woman, which is sadly common, unfortunately. I've seen a lot of cases about those. And my mom kind of falls in that category, but not quite. I'll talk to that about in third question. After reading chapters 6 and 7 describe why understanding the role of police and system of policing from the standpoint of various racial and gender perspectives is crucial as a student of criminal justice. Additionally, in what ways do these two readings relate to the radical ideology from chapter 1? And I said, it's crucial as the police have treated these groups of people vastly differently from other groups, usually the minorities being treated badly. Um, it's done unequally and causes a drift in positive relations with one another, um, which can cause issues with reliable information and teamwork with one another. For example, African Americans view police officers as threats more often than anything, even when they're not doing anything illegal, because of the amount of stories. Even now, it's still pretty bad. They are less likely to report a crime due to it as well, because oftentimes the police will also target them uh, because they think that they are part of the crime. Another perspective is that women are treated like they don't know anything, or that they are acting irrationally due to emotions, or that they need to be doing more feminine work. Sometimes the police will treat the woman like the criminal in serious situations like sexual assault crimes as well. Sometimes it's the officers that commit that crime, but due to the police department wanting to keep a clean image and not losing the trust in the community, they'll cover it up. My mother even has a story pertaining to this example. Um, when she was younger, she was like underage actually, but she was a fool. But she was seeing this cop, the young cop, and she thought he was single, he wasn't married, and then she found out that he was married, and he was sleeping with her even though he was an adult and she was a minor. And the cops didn't believe her, but she did in fact have evidence, and then got that cop fired for um, having a sexual relationship with a minor, and then he also got divorced because he was married. Um, okay, so next thing I wrote is that knowing this stuff is crucial to know so that we can see the different shades of gray in all situations, that everything isn't just good or bad, and that we are trying to better understand minorities' perspectives of their situations. Not everyone is a single poor black mother or a rich white family man. Both are capable of committing the same crime, but the black mother would have the the worst version of the experience of arrest and trial than the white man. The 2025 movie Straw, which I watched recently, is a good example of extreme situations and how other justice forces try to work for the same problem, along with how certain police officers will treat minority Black women, even when they're experiencing a really bad day. Okay, so both chapters frame out the history between two minority groups and their oppressive perspectives of the police force, especially with working with them. It's not the entire thing, but one of them is for working. When minorities are introduced to the police force, they are often treated unequally and harassed within the workspace, creating the idea of false change and putting the radical idea of the police force being only truly available to the privileged elites, that police only exist to enforce and further oppress possible change that would otherwise threaten those in higher power. And that is what all I wrote in here because I have to write it down before I make a video because otherwise I'll forget. Anyway, little thing. So, different quilt top. This is a rescue one that I'm gonna finish up, and then I made this fish for a friend. It's upside down. It's a little purse. Um, little drawstring purse with a funky little line to it. Looks like a little fishing line. And that is my craft update after the boring stuff of the video. Have a good night or day whenever you watch it.